The Cleveland Browns are suddenly facing a storm no one saw coming, and it all centers around one explosive issue: the quarterback competition. What was supposed to be a controlled, strategic battle for the starting job has now erupted into full-blown chaos. One that has the entire fan base split, coaches on edge, and players quietly choosing sides. From the moment training camp opened, the tension was obvious. But over the last 48 hours, it has escalated to a level nobody inside the building can ignore. Reports from practice describe a locker room filled with frustration, confusion, and growing resentment as the QB reps become the most contested topic in Berea. Every missed throw, every highlight play, and every coaching decision is fueling debates not just among fans, but within the organization itself. The competition that was meant to push both quarterbacks to be better is instead tearing at the seams of the team's chemistry. Rumors are now flying about conversations behind closed doors, star players voicing concerns, and a coaching staff that is trying and failing to keep the situation from boiling over. The Browns expected competition. What they didn't expect was for it to explode into the biggest storyline of their season before Week 1 even arrived. One thing is clear: this is no longer just about naming a starter. This is about control, trust, and the future direction of the franchise. And the fallout is getting louder by the minute. What happened at practice today might go down as one of the most dramatic moments the Browns have seen in years. It started like any normal session: drills, warm-ups, and a light competitive atmosphere, until the quarterback reps began. That's when everything spiraled. According to people on the field, the tension between the two quarterbacks had already been simmering for weeks. But today, it boiled over. The coaches attempted to split the reps evenly. But the moment one QB was given a second consecutive series, the other visibly snapped. Helmets were slammed, voices raised, and several players immediately stepped in to calm things down. What was supposed to be a productive practice instantly turned into a spectacle. But the real shock came when several veteran players, guys who usually keep quiet, started getting involved. Some were seen walking toward the coaching staff, demanding clarity about the direction of the team. Others gathered around the frustrated quarterback, offering support and shaking their heads as if this had been building for far too long. You could feel it. The locker room was dividing right in front of everyone. Then came the play that set the entire facility buzzing. During a 7-on-7 drill, the two quarterbacks exchanged sharp words after a miscommunication with a receiver. One blamed the route, the other blamed the throw. And within seconds, teammates had to physically separate them. Coaches blew the whistle early, cutting the drill short. Players described the atmosphere as heavy and uncomfortable, with some even saying it felt like the team had hit a breaking point. By the time practice ended, the frustration was so obvious that one staff member was caught shaking his head and walking off the field before anyone else, even prompting rumors that he'd quit on the spot. Whether that's true or not, the message is clear. The competition isn't just tense. It's tearing at the fabric of the team. What should have been a routine practice has now turned into the biggest talking point in Cleveland, and the fallout is only beginning. When the dust settles on today's explosive Browns practice, the plays everyone will still be talking about aren't the touchdowns or highlight grabs. They're the moments that exposed just how fractured this quarterback competition has become. These weren't just routine reps. These were the plays that revealed who's pressing, who's frustrated, and who's quietly losing confidence in the process. The first play that set the tone came early in 11-on-11s. The QB1 candidate dropped back, misread the coverage, and fired a ball straight into the chest of a linebacker who didn't even have to move. The defense erupted, the offense deflated, and the quarterback slammed his fist into his helmet. Coaches immediately huddled, trying to calm him down, but the sideline energy had already shifted. Then came the response. On the very next series, the other quarterback stepped in with something to prove. He hit a deep shot down the sideline, perfect placement, perfect timing, and the offensive sideline exploded. Receivers slapped helmets, linemen cheered, and you could feel the competition spike instantly. Instead of motivating both quarterbacks, it seemed to widen the divide. One QB celebrated. The other paced alone near the equipment carts, visibly irritated. But the biggest moment came midway through practice, during a red zone drill. A miscommunication between the quarterback and his star receiver led to a badly underthrown ball. The receiver turned around mid-route, threw his hands up, and barked something back toward the quarterback. The quarterback fired right back. Teammates had to separate them before the argument got worse. Coaches stopped the drill and brought everyone in, but the tension on the field was unmistakable. And just when it felt like things couldn't escalate further, the defense delivered the final dagger. A strip sack, clean, violent, and symbolic. The ball popped loose, defenders swarmed it, and the defensive line berated the offense all the way back to the huddle. One QB blamed the protection. The lineman barked back. The chemistry? Gone. These plays weren't just mistakes. They were snapshots of a quarterback battle that's no longer competitive. It's combustible. What happened on the sideline today wasn't just another tense practice exchange. It was the moment everyone realized the Browns' quarterback battle had gone from competitive to downright volatile. Players felt it. Coaches felt it. Even the staff standing near the Gatorade coolers froze when the energy shifted. It started subtly. After a rough offensive series, a few receivers walked back shaking their heads, whispering under their breath. Nothing loud, nothing dramatic. Just the kind of quiet frustration that spreads fast. The defense, meanwhile, fed off every offensive mistake. They celebrated every incompletion like it was a playoff turnover. And the louder they got, the more rattled the offense became. But the real turning point came after a stalled drive where the offensive rhythm completely collapsed. As the offense returned to the sideline, one of the veteran receivers ripped off his helmet and tossed it closer to the bench than anyone expected. He wasn't aiming at anyone, but the message was clear. He was tired of the chaos under center. A few teammates tried calming him down, telling him to breathe, to shake it off, but he wasn't having it. His frustration was boiling. Then one of the quarterbacks walked over and tried to explain what went wrong on the previous play. The receiver didn't want to hear it. Voices rose, hands pointed. You could feel the tension snap like a rope pulled too tight. A couple of linemen stepped between them before it spiraled into something bigger. But the damage was already done. Everyone on the sideline was staring. Even players who normally stayed quiet suddenly looked wide-eyed. Coaches rushed in almost immediately, pulling players aside, trying to reset the tone. But you can't coach away the truth everyone had just seen. This offense isn't on the same page. Some players blamed the play calling. Others blamed misreads at quarterback. A few just stared at them, the ground, shaking their heads, knowing this kind of divide doesn't disappear overnight. And as the team spread out for the next drill, nobody spoke. No jokes, no chatter, no casual trash talk. Just tension hanging in the air, thicker than the humidity. This wasn't just a bad moment. It was the clearest sign yet that the locker room is starting to pick sides. And that's the last thing this team needs with the season approaching. If the players were already on edge, the reaction from the coaching staff and front office only added fuel to the fire. Coaches normally pride themselves on staying composed, keeping everything behind closed doors. But today, there was no hiding the frustration. The tension rolling off the staff was almost louder than the shouting on the field. It started with the offensive coordinator. After another broken play where the timing fell apart and the quarterback stared down the wrong read, he slammed his play sheet against his leg so hard that even the rookies froze. He pulled both quarterbacks aside separately, giving each the kind of tight-jawed lecture that says more than any words ever could. You could see it in his eyes. Patience was thinning, and excuses weren't cutting it anymore. Then came the head coach. Normally calm, normally collected. Today, not so much. He blew the whistle, gathered the entire offense, and let out a speech that walked the line between motivation and outright warning. He talked about accountability, about locking in mentally, about leaders needing to step the hell up. And the way he said it made it clear he wasn't talking to everyone. He was talking to two people in particular. But the real eyebrow raiser came when a pair of front office execs walked down from the viewing platform. They don't usually come this close during practice unless something serious is brewing. One of them spoke quietly to the head coach. The other crossed his arms and watched. Every snap with the kind of intensity that sends a message without saying a word. Rumors spread fast. Some players whispered that the higher-ups were evaluating whether a change needed to be made sooner rather than later. And the quarterbacks felt it. One suddenly became overly cautious, double-clutching passes and checking down too quickly. The other started pressing, forcing throws that weren't there, desperate to impress. Both looked like they were auditioning instead of competing. By the time practice wrapped, the coaching staff had already broken into small clusters, discussing what went wrong and who was responsible. No smiles, no jokes, no "we'll clean it up tomorrow." Just concern, real concern, that this quarterback battle is spiraling in a direction nobody expected. And the worst part? It's clear the front office is watching every misstep and taking notes. What today's chaos means for Dillon Gabriel is bigger than just a quarterback quietly trying to earn his shot. It might be the clearest opening he's had since arriving in Cleveland. Up until now, he has been the guy everyone labels as developmental, future piece, or long-term project. But the disaster unfolding between the top two quarterbacks has created a lane he didn't even have to fight for. It's opening right in front of him, and the coaching staff knows it. For most of camp, Gabriel's biggest challenge wasn't talent. It was opportunity. The reps were limited. The spotlight rarely swung in his direction, and every time he made a solid throw, it was brushed off as promising, but not ready yet. But when the veterans started melting down, when the miscommunication became too loud to ignore, Gabriel became something he hadn't been before. Safe, stable, and calm. Coaches love calm. While the other quarterbacks argued with receivers and snapped at linemen, Gabriel quietly ran his reps with zero drama. Nothing flashy, nothing reckless, just clean mechanics, smart decisions, and a demeanor that never changed. And when the front office executives came down from the platform earlier, they didn't just watch the starters. They watched everyone. And Gabriel's consistency suddenly looked a lot more valuable. Players noticed it too. A few receivers who were tired of the chaos started drifting toward Gabriel during downtime, talking through routes, syncing up timing, building trust. That doesn't happen by accident. That's chemistry forming while the rest of the offense is tearing itself apart. But here's the twist most people won't see yet. Gabriel's rise wouldn't come from him outplaying the veterans. It would come from him outlasting them. If the coaches reach a breaking point with the current competition, they may look for someone who brings stability instead of sparks. Someone who listens, who learns, who keeps the locker room from fracturing even more. And right now, that's Dillon Gabriel. He isn't taking the job. The job is drifting toward him. With every sideline blow-up, every misread, every argument between the starters, Gabriel's quiet, steady approach becomes more appealing. And if today was any indication, his window isn't opening slowly. It's cracking wide open in real time. If chaos really decides this quarterback battle, Gabriel might be the one who benefits the most. The fallout from today's Browns practice didn't stay inside the facility for long. By the time players were showering off the sweat and frustration, the rest of the NFL had already picked up the scent. Word spreads fast in this league, faster than most fans realize, and the whispers circulating right now aren't flattering. Executives, scouts, and even rival quarterbacks are quietly watching Cleveland's situation unfold. Like it's the latest episode in a drama series they can't stop streaming. Across the league, the biggest talking point isn't the interceptions or the blown protections. It's the breakdown in chemistry. Teams can live with mechanical issues or missed reads, but when players start barking at each other, when the energy on the sideline cracks, that's when front offices start questioning leadership. And leadership is all anyone is talking about tonight. A few league insiders have already suggested that this kind of tension doesn't just appeal out of nowhere. It's usually the result of long, simmering frustration finally boiling over. Some coaches around the NFL reportedly aren't surprised. They've said off the record that Cleveland's quarterback battle always felt unstable, that the personalities involved were bound to collide eventually. Others are more sympathetic, noting that intense competition brings out both the best and the worst in players. But even those voices admit that what happened today looked less like healthy competition and more like a locker room split right down the middle. Analysts across the NFL media landscape have jumped on it too. They're calling it a warning sign, a control issue, and the kind of practice meltdown that forces decisions earlier than expected. A few shows even speculated that if things keep trending this way, Cleveland might become a destination for veteran quarterbacks looking for a mid-season opportunity. Meanwhile, rival players are quietly reacting on social media, posting cryptic emojis and comments that fans immediately tie back to Cleveland. Players know when a team is spiraling. They can sense it. And right now, the league's general feeling is that the Browns are tiptoeing toward a crossroads. The most interesting part? People outside the building seem more confident about what's happening than the people inside it. And when the NFL smells instability, it watches closely, because situations like this rarely stay contained for long. When the dust finally settled on Wednesday's chaotic practice, one truth hung in the air heavier than any rumor, any whisper, any speculation. The Browns are no longer managing a quarterback competition. They are navigating the aftermath of a takeover. What unfolded wasn't a simple bad day for one quarterback and a great day for another. It was the kind of moment that reshapes an organization's internal power structure overnight. Everyone in that building felt it. Everyone watching from the outside could sense it. And perhaps most importantly, the two quarterbacks at the center of it understood exactly what it meant. For Cleveland, this isn't just about naming a starter anymore. It's about dealing with the consequences of a roster witnessing leadership crystallize in real time. The coaching staff can delay announcements, dodge questions, or hide behind, "We need to watch the tape," but that won't silence the reality. The offense already chose its guy. The locker room already aligned. And the front office, whether prepared or not, now faces a decision that could define the next 5 years of this franchise. Dillon Gabriel's reaction, frustration, confrontation, desperation wasn't random. It was the instinctive response of a player watching the ground shift beneath his feet. He knows the narrative has changed. He knows Wednesday wasn't just one practice. It was a referendum. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders didn't need theatrics or arguments. His play delivered the message: I run this offense. And every rep, every drive, every reaction from his teammates reinforced it. What happens next may be even more explosive than what just unfolded. Does the coaching staff accelerate the inevitable and name Sanders the starter? Does Gabriel's camp push for a trade to salvage his trajectory? Does the locker room fracture further if this drags out? The Browns walked onto the field expecting routine installation work. They walked off staring at something. A franchise-defining pivot point. One practice shouldn't decide a season. But sometimes one practice reveals what a season would eventually prove anyway. And Wednesday afternoon, Cleveland saw its future, whether they were ready for it or not.